is Rachel, and this is Leah.
Hello, today we have a special guest with us, Mark Feuerborn.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
What inspired you to become a journalist, and how did Washburn help you achieve those goals?
Well, that's a great question. So when I first came to Washburn, I'm just going to walk you through kind of my start as a freshman way back in the day. I came to campus majoring in radiology. It wasn't something that I was particularly passionate about, but it was just kind of like something to get my start in. I took a couple of science courses that were involved in. You know, it was something, but it wasn't really for me. When I first came to campus, I remember at my orientation, I was going around the booths that they had set up for all the student orgs, and some guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, you look like a photographer. You want a job?" His name was Ryan Ogle. He's a great guy. He was actually my boss, my editor-in-chief over the Washburn Review. So that's kind of how I got my start in journalism, was just somebody kind of stereotyped me, and it worked out nicely. I hadn't really done a lot of article writing before then, but it's something that I kind of grew to enjoy. Kind of touching a little bit further back on my past, I actually, right before I came to Washburn, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So what happened was I had to take a year off. I didn't actually go to college when I planned to because I was dealing with chemotherapy and surgery and recovery for a long time. And it actually, the first couple of doctors that I visited told me that there was nothing they could do for me. So my prognosis was I am a goner. It wasn't until I got a third opinion from a doctor in Washington, D.C. that really changed, and almost miraculously I survived. So I dealt with a lot of different thoughts throughout that time, kind of like thinking about what kind of a story I was leaving behind with just that small amount of time here. And that really stood out to me as something that I feel like a lot of people potentially grapple with throughout their lives, is what kind of story are we leaving? And, you know, whether it's because they're thinking about some serious illness that they're having or anything like that. And so that kind of gave me some kind of an inspiration to kind of help other people tell their stories, because I almost didn't have a story. So now my job is to help other people get theirs out.
How did you start working at KSNT, and did it start off as like an internship, or what is your favorite thing about your job?
I got a really lucky break with that. When I first started at KSNT, it was because I was at a career fair at Washburn. So if they ever tell you guys to go to those, go to those. I was working the booth for the Review, the newspaper. I think we were taking yearbook photos, and I saw a couple of different booths for media companies, specifically KSNT and WIBW. And I kind of went and visited with both of them. Didn't really think that I had made much of an impression, because I know I was just dressed in like a little polo and was taking people's photos, so I kind of was doing something on the job. A lot of other people were coming in and like suited up, so I felt like I was kind of a little underwhelming. But, you know, they both had me send in my resume, and KSNT invited me to come interview with them, and that time I wore a suit. They had me send in my resume and kind of take a look at some potential positions. First time around, I think they wanted me to do some kind of a breaking news reporter from like midnight to 9 a.m. I think that was going to be a little bit difficult with my work schedule, but to get a job offer, I was very surprised by that, because, you know, my initial impression was that I wasn't really making much of an impression. I kind of was like, I don't really know if that's a good fit for me right now, because I had like a 9:30 class, and there was no way that was going to work. But all throughout this, I was working actually as an intern over at PBS. So the KTWU station on campus, I was completing my internship with them. Finally, a little bit later, KSNT followed up with me again, and they offered me another job as a technical director. And that one was going to work a lot better because there were weekend hours on that one. So I gladly accepted. Thankfully, I got that job as a student while completing my internship with another television station. So I feel very lucky in that, you know, I was one of those people that got the opportunity to do the work that we're learning about and how to do in school and get paid for it. So it's kind of like getting a running start on the position.
That's very, very cool.
Thank you.
What are some on-campus activities that you would suggest for a Washburn mass media student, regardless of their emphasis?
Shameless plug, of course. The radio station that I founded on campus, Washburn Radio, KRWU, it's an internet radio station, and if you're looking for an opportunity in broadcast media or any kind of streaming or audio media, that is your one opportunity to get involved in that on campus. So if you are interested in it, I strongly recommend that you get involved. We have some really welcoming staff. I mean, we're here recording inside of their studio right now, so they're very accommodating and they provide a lot of different opportunities to get you going. One thing that really is important as well is you kind of get a running start on your portfolio as you work there. We have channels on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all for podcasting. So any kind of work that you do with audio is actually going to be saved in that archive for people to listen to and for you to send to potential employers later. So that's one opportunity. Another, I would strongly recommend the Washburn Review. I mean, that's how I got my start in media, so it'd be a shame for me to not give them a shout out as well. They have opportunities for anybody regardless of your major. I was a radiology major when I started working there, and yet they were more than happy to have me get involved with it. That's also a place where regardless of your major, you're going to find some skills that come in handy for whatever job you do. I mean, writing is so central to so many parts of our lives. To be a good writer or to get that kind of experience working in any kind of media is going to give you an edge over a lot of different competitors for jobs in the future. What's the most consumed version of media, would you guys say? What do you guys look at the most?
Mostly just social media, so Instagram, that's going to be really, really popular for right now, and YouTube and all of that. But something that has come more popular is, podcasts and stuff like that.
Right.
A couple years ago, people would just be like, a podcast, what? So, it's coming more and more popular, more and more people are doing it. So.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. But, you mentioned the YouTube and the Instagram as well, and those are both graphical formats. That's those videos and those pictures as well. So learning how to use those kinds of mediums, whether that's doing some videography, photography, editing, both Photoshop or,
advertising.
Exactly. That's the kind of job opportunities that you get with those skill sets. And that's something that pretty much any business that you get involved with post-graduation is going to have a need for. So to be able to have those kinds of skills is just giving you a running start. Washburn Review and both Washburn Radio, both are great opportunities for students to get involved in those, and they're both paid as well, so what's not to love?
Besides the Washburn Review and radio, do you have any suggestions for Washburn students that they can do outside of Washburn to prepare for their career?
I would say that beyond just student orgs on campus, there are a number of businesses that also are kind of looking for students. There's a lot of them that provide on-the-job training. I'll give you an example. Emily Jardin, she's the vice president for Washburn Radio right now. She actually has a paid position over at KOFO AM. It's a radio station in Kansas that pays her pretty well, and she does some on-air work for them. So she's still a student. She's a junior, and she's already getting that kind of experience and getting compensated for it. I mean, I worked over at KTWU for 3 years. It's probably thanks to them. It's almost definitely thanks to them that I was able to get my position that I have now. I mean, the experience that I got there was my entire start in broadcasting. So, I mean, beyond them, the different businesses that are available that would be able to give you those kinds of opportunities, they're out there. You just have to go looking.
Okay, so you told me a while back that you founded Washburn Radio. How did that come about, and do you think it benefits you now?
So Washburn Radio was a project my senior year, and I started it because as I was kind of going through the classes in mass media, I was having a really good time and I was learning a lot. I also was learning a lot outside of the classroom, doing extracurricular work for Washburn Review. But what I really learned was it kind of came to find that there weren't really a lot of broadcasting educational opportunities within the course load for mass media students. I also thought that was something that might benefit communications and English students as well. And so that was kind of something that I wanted to create as my parting project for the university, was that opportunity for future students to have some learning experience with that. So Washburn Radio was kind of that very humble start. I mean, we had a staff of myself and I want to say 5 or 6 people. Everything that you see in the studio for Washburn Radio was either put together by donations or I personally financed it. So a lot of that was a major passion project. We weren't getting paid for it. It was something that was completely started from the ground up. Didn't really have any kind of guidance on how to do it, but we did have some recommendations and those really came in handy. it was both a learning experience for me that I think I really benefited from, and then also it just is that experience available for students.
I actually want to add a question, if that's okay.
Go right ahead.
I know you talk about things that you kind of are passionate about, so what are like a couple hobbies that you do to kind of keep yourself sane, if that makes sense?
I have a couple of different hobbies. You could kind of refer to them more as like my passion projects, I guess. I have a band. It's called Buyer Beware. That's another opportunity where I've put some of my media experience into practice. I actually do a lot of the composing and recording for them, at least from the demo stage. So a lot of the stuff, the material that we create and then take to a recording studio, that's me working on that. So I wouldn't be able to do that if it weren't for my experience in mass media, because I wouldn't know the first thing when it comes to working with audio. So that's kind of something that I do to de-stress, is just still an opportunity to get something out there, but it's more of a creative thing for me. I'm just kind of letting it loose and not really worrying about it from a professional standpoint. Another thing that I kind of do, just kind of for fun, I do a little bit of voice acting. I actually got the opportunity this past year to work as a voice actor for Fallout New California. If you're familiar with that series, it's kind of a video game series by Bethesda. Again, it was a passion project, and it was something that I wanted to also lend my passion to as well. Those are kind of different things that I do just to de-stress and take my mind off of work, but also simultaneously.
Yeah, you have a very, very stressful job. What is the craziest experience you've had at Washburn, or the biggest adversity you've ever had to overcome?
There's a couple that come to mind. I can't really go into too much detail about it, but there was an article that we did in 2017 that was about a professor on campus who got caught in some sort of sexual misconduct with students. I kind of led the investigation on that and carried out the authoring of that article, and so there was a lot of different outrage on campus. Some of it was directed at the university, some of it was directed at us. It was a tough piece to write. It was a tough piece to work on. But I think that ultimately it was really important, and it was also a really good lesson that not everyone's going to like your work sometimes, but sometimes it's just really important to get that out there because it's the truth. That's one example. Another, I would say, this is more on a positive note. I got to get involved in a trip to Paris, and that was more of just a WTE that was led by the now head of the mass media department, Dr. Maria Stover. It was a very fun trip. We got to go visit with CNN's International Bureau in Paris, and we got to talk with the gentleman who runs it. It was a very informative experience, very cool to see. They have a little apartment, actually, just a little office on this major kind of strip mall section that they have in Paris called the Champs-Élysées. They have like a balcony that they shoot all of their live hits for CNN on, and I thought that was just incredible. And then another part of it was we got to go visit the French Senate. So that was really cool to see as well, just to be going within their chambers and kind of see their politics in action. So.
Do you speak French?
I don't. The most I learned was, I think it's Je suis désolé, mon français est pas très bon. And that was about, it basically means I'm sorry, my French is not very good. So.
So to wrap everything up here, do you have any advice for upcoming mass media students?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. Hands down, mass media students, this is a job where you need to know as much as you can. Soak up whatever you can, whatever skill set, whatever opportunity that comes your way like a sponge. It pays off to work really hard in your college years and to make that part of your identity, to be able to say, I am a videographer, or I am a graphic artist, or I am a journalist. Anything that you can do to really gain confidence in your skills in media, I would wholeheartedly endorse. And also, don't be afraid to seize opportunities that present themselves, whether that's a job in college or any kind of an internship. Don't wait until the very end to try and look for those opportunities. You are good enough, if you can put your mind to it, to make that happen. If an employer is ready for you, then take that opportunity.
Cool. Thank you for joining us today for this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.